It happens more often than you realize. You think of someone, and within hours, sometimes minutes, they text. They call. They show up in your life somehow. Most people call it coincidence. But Rumi knew better. He said that no thought exists in isolation. Every time you think of someone, you're sending energy toward them. And every time they cross your mind unexpectedly, they're sending energy toward you. You're sitting at your desk, working, focused, and suddenly, out of nowhere, someone's face appears in your mind. Not someone you are trying to remember. Not someone relevant to what you're doing. Just a random person from your past. An old friend. An ex. A colleague you haven't spoken to in years. And the thought is so sudden, so vivid, that it almost feels intrusive. Like it was placed there by someone else. And then, an hour later, your phone buzzes. It's them. A text, an email, a message on social media. And you freeze. Because how? How did that just happen? You hadn't thought about them in months, maybe years. And the moment they cross your mind, they reach out. The logical part of you says coincidence. But something deeper, something quieter, knows it wasn't. Rumi spent much of his life exploring the invisible connections between people. He wrote about how souls recognize each other across distance. How love, longing, and even casual thought create threads that link one person to another. He said that when you think of someone, you're not just remembering them. You're tuning into their frequency. And if they're thinking of you at the same time, the connection becomes mutual. A bridge forms. And that bridge is what you feel as that sudden, unexplainable thought. Most people dismiss this. They call it overthinking, projection, the brain's pattern-seeking tendency. And maybe sometimes it is. But when it happens repeatedly, when you think of someone and they contact you, or when someone contacts you right after you thought of them, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. Rumi would say this is because thought is not confined to the mind. Thought is energy, and energy moves. You think of your mother. 5 minutes later, she calls. You think of an old friend. That evening, you run into them at the grocery store. You think of someone you used to love. The next day, they're like an old photo of yours from years ago. These moments stack up, and each time they happen, you feel that little jolt. That moment of, wait, what just happened? Some people keep track of these moments. They start noticing the pattern. Person crosses their mind. Person reaches out. Again and again. And the more they notice, the more it happens. Not because it's happening more frequently, but because they're finally paying attention. Rumi said that the world is full of signs, but most people walk through life blind to them. The ones who see are not special. They're just a wake dot. But here's where it gets more interesting. It's not just about people reaching out after you think of them. It's about you reaching out after they think of you. You're going about your day. Nothing unusual. And suddenly, someone pops into your head. You feel a pull, an urge to text them, to check in, to say hello. And when you do, they respond with, I was just thinking about you. Or, I was about to message you. Or, this is so weird. I've been thinking about you all day. This is what Rumi meant by energetic calling. When someone thinks of you with enough intensity, with enough emotion, their energy reaches out. It travels through the invisible web that connects all beings. And when it reaches you, you feel it. Not as a thought that you created, but as a thought that arrived, uninvited, unexpected, but undeniable. And the reverse is true. When you think of someone, when you wonder how they are, when their face appears in your mind for no logical reason, you're not just remembering them. You're responding to their energy. They were thinking of you, and your soul picked up on it before your mind could rationalize it. This is why the thought feels different. It doesn't feel like your thought. It feels like someone else's thought visiting you, Rumi wrote that love is the bridge between souls. But he also said that all connection, not just romantic love, operates on the same principle. Every relationship you've ever had, even the brief ones, creates a thread. And that thread doesn't disappear just because you stop talking. It remains dormant but present. And when someone on the other end of that thread thinks of you, the thread vibrates. And you feel it. You're lying in bed, about to sleep, and suddenly an old friend's name appears in your mind. You haven't thought about them in a year, maybe more, but there they are, clear, present, and you think, I should reach out. But you're tired. You tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow, and the next morning you wake up to a message from them, sent late last night, right around the time you were thinking of them. This happens so often that it stops feeling like coincidence. It starts feeling like communication, a language without words, a knowing without explanation. Rumi said that souls speak to each other in ways the mind cannot understand, that the heart hears what the ears cannot, and that sometimes the loudest messages are the ones never spoken. But not every thought is a signal. Sometimes you think of someone because you saw something that reminded you of them. A song, a place, a phrase. That's memory. That's association. Rumi would say those thoughts are yours. They originate from your mind. But the other kind, the sudden, uninvited, out-of-nowhere kind, those are different. Those feel like interruptions. Like someone knocked on the door of your mind and you opened it without thinking. The difference is in the feeling. When you're remembering someone, it feels soft, nostalgic, like you're reaching into the past. But when someone is thinking of you, the thought feels sharp, immediate, like it's happening now, like they're present with you in that moment, even though they're miles away. Rumi said this is because time and space are illusions, that on the level of energy, distance doesn't exist. And when two people are connected, they're always within reach of each other. Always. You notice this more with certain people. With some, the connection is constant. You think of them, they reach out. They think of you, you feel it. The thread between you is strong, active, alive. With others, the connection is faint. You can think of them all you want, and nothing happens. They think of you, and you don't feel it. Rumi would say this is because not all connections are equal. Some threads are thick, woven from years of intimacy, trust, shared experience. Others are thin, fragile, easily forgotten, but even thin threads can transmit energy. Even people you barely knew can cross your mind out of nowhere. And when they do, it's worth paying attention. Because if they're appearing in your thoughts without reason, there's a reason you're not seeing yet. Maybe they need help. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're just thinking of you and their energy is strong enough to reach you even across a weak connection. Rumi believed that the universe is always speaking, that every moment is full of signals, and that the people who appear in your mind, especially the ones who appear suddenly, are part of that conversation. They're messages, not from them directly, but from the larger intelligence that connects all things. And the message is simple. Pay attention. Reach out. Check in. Or at the very least, acknowledge that something beyond logic is at play. Some people take this further. They start experimenting. They think of someone intentionally and wait to see if that person reaches out. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Rumi would say this is because intention changes the energy. When you think of someone naturally, spontaneously, the energy is pure. It flows without resistance. But when you think of someone with expectation, with agenda, the energy becomes forced. And forced energy doesn't travel the same way. This is why the most powerful connections happen when you're not trying. When you're just existing and someone appears in your mind. When you're driving, cooking, walking, and suddenly there they are. Those are the real signals. Those are the moments when the veil between minds is thin enough for energy to pass through, unobstructed. You've probably experienced the reverse too. You're thinking of someone constantly, obsessively even, but they never reach out. They never seem to feel you thinking of them. And that silence is painful. Because if thought is energy, if thinking of someone creates a connection, why aren't they responding? Rumi would say it's because they're not tuned to your frequency, that their awareness is elsewhere, occupied, distracted, closed. You can send all the energy you want towards someone, but if they're not open to receiving it, it won't reach them. Not because the energy isn't real, but because they're not in a state to perceive it. This is why some people can feel you from across the world, and others can't feel you standing right next to them. It's not about distance. It's about receptivity. And this is the hardest part. Realizing that connection is not one-sided. That you can think of someone all you want, but if they're not thinking of you, the bridge doesn't form. Rumi wrote about this often. The pain of unrequited thought. The longing that goes unanswered. He said that sometimes the absence of connection is the message. That when someone doesn't cross your mind, and when you don't cross theirs, the thread has dissolved. Not because it was never there, but because it's no longer active. But when the connection is mutual, when both people are open, aware, receptive, the results can be startling. You think of someone, they text. You dream of someone, they call the next morning. You feel a pull toward someone. You run into them that afternoon. It's not magic. It's resonance. Two frequencies aligning. Two energies meeting in the space between. Rumi said that the world is not made of matter. It's made of meaning. And meaning is created through connection. Every person you've ever met has left a mark on your energy field. And every person who has marked you remains accessible to you as long as the thread exists. Some threads last a lifetime. Others last a moment. But while they exist, they transmit. So the next time someone crosses your mind out of nowhere, don't dismiss it. Don't brush it off as random. Pause. Feel into it. Ask yourself, why them? Why now? And if the feeling is strong enough, reach out. Send a message. Make a call. Because chances are, they were thinking of you too. And in that mutual thought, in that shared moment of awareness, something real is happening. Something that doesn't need logic to be true. Rumi spent his life trying to explain the unexplainable. The way love moves without being seen. The way souls find each other without being told. The way a thought can travel across mountains, across oceans, across time itself, and land softly in the mind of the person it was meant for. He called it the language of the heart. And if you're reading this now, if you've experienced what I'm describing, then you already speak that language. You just didn't know it had a name.